God, Hutch, I wish I was on this show. Every time I'm on, they'll never talk politics. This would be the perfect time. Oh, you want to talk about the Dominion stuff? Well, aren't we in luck? This is why my rhetoric has become so unhinged, okay? You should never grant that, okay? It was Bush v. Gore, right? I think Gore challenged the Florida election, all right, based on stuff relating to the machines. However, the reason why was because...
First of all, I think that Biden is doing a bigger disservice to America, representative democracy, and our way of life than Trump ever can by what he's doing right now and like throwing this race so hard and throwing the whole ticket so hard. He is about to send us into a world where Trump has absolute power.
Donald Trump could walk into a room with Biden, take out an AK-47 and like pump him full, you know, dump the whole mag into his chest. And I feel like people like Kyle would be on shows saying like Biden is ruining America because he didn't show up with a thick enough bulletproof vest. What are we talking about right now? Just if you want to support Trump, just say you support Trump. Like
the Supreme Court, he's going to have the Supreme Court, the Senate, the House, and he's going to be the goddamn president. And he might just start. He could do so many things to legally keep staying. He could do so many things to wipe people out. He really could. You know, what if he did this? And I'm just off the top of my head. What if he sets up some bullshit tribunal in Congress, his Congress?
My girlfriend is on Slind, a progestin-only contraceptive, and it stops her periods altogether. Was confirmed to be normal and safe by her gyno. I mean, it happens. It's not bad necessarily if it happens, but that's a minority. It won't. The low hormone pills won't. It's not like guaranteed, and it's not even like it's not even over half. But it can happen. It's just not. You don't take it just to stop your periods.
And they have a trial, and they determined that last election was stolen. That it was stolen, and that he's entitled to 4 more years because technically he's won 3 elections, and they stamp it, and it goes to the Supreme Court, and they stamp it, and Trump says, "Here we fucking go." The rest, you know what? And the end of that 4 years, what do you want? Some more Trump? And everyone says, "Yes, sir, yes, sir."
He's gonna step aside. Like I
hope so. God, I hope so.
He reached the final boss, the Elden Beast of the Democratic Party apparatus. Obama leaked to the press today that he privately is pushing for Biden to drop out, and so I would be
Schumer.
I think
can I add to that?
Well,
that makes the list this: Obama, Schiff, Pelosi, and Schumer are calling for him to step down.
And Raskin.
Okay, and Raskin. I didn't know that one.
Yeah,
that's like all the heads in the.
Yeah,
in
but
the
did
party.
you hear Biden big it? And he's like, I don't even know who you people are.
That sounds like Trump. I never met that guy.
Well, it's pretty fascinating palace intrigue because like the friendship that he has with Obama is not really a friendship. Like Obama famously sort of convinced him to not get in the race in 2016, and Obama.
I'm glad you brought it up.
What's
That's
up?
in my notes. That is why he won't leave. That is what he won't leave. It's over here written. That is why Biden is not going to drop out, in my opinion, because the last time he listened to Barack Obama, he didn't run because his son was dead. 2016, Hillary runs, she loses, Trump takes over, we get the Trump presidency, and I'm sure we can all imagine how, regardless of how we feel about it, Biden feels so much worse about it and everything that happened during. He hates Trump way more than any of us. He has to. He knows him. So I think now he's looking at Obama and he's like, if he's cogent, he might start telling that story about his legs in the pool in the water.
Dude, Biden is absolutely
he's not saying yes.
going to drop out. Like Biden himself hasn't been making decisions for.
We got to start putting some bets on this then, because I think he's staying. I know a guy, a robot in our Discord. He's got $1,000 that Biden will be the nominee. It only pays back $500. $1,500. He made the bet weeks ago, and I'm sure he's going to lose that now.
He's going to lose that money.
I think he's solid.
No, it's totally untenable for him to stay in the race now. Like, it's obvious that Democratic leadership behind the scenes were trying to privately nudge him. He wasn't budging, and now they're all leaking to the press. They're doing it publicly, and it's impossible for him to, like, the ads write themselves. Right now, the Trump campaign and all the Trump supporting super PACs or whatever, they're all crafting ads saying he's lost the faith of his own Congress and his own party.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Trump took a bullet. This is him right now.
Well, they're
got the kung flu. He's somewhere hiding out in Delaware. And in the background, you hear he's showing a hospital bed all decrepit.
But they the main bosses of the Democratic Party have they've forced the issue.
They realized they couldn't effectively hide his condition anymore, and now it's just beyond pale, and so they need him to step down. Like, all of these people now who are calling for him to step down have known he's been a senile old man for years, not pulling any levers, just waking up and eating ice cream and letting the people around him make decisions.
Oh, I got another thought. I bet he'd intended to pardon his son, and that is so important to the wife and so important to him that they can't. I bet that's part of it.
Like, it's just like, yeah, there you go.
I bet that's part of it. I don't think he's going anywhere. And Zach, what do you want to bet? $10? I'll do $10. We'll do $5, whatever you want. Like, we'll do that. Bet. I say Biden stays in this race. He's running through. We'll even money. That's fine with you. 10 is fine. Deal. Yeah, Biden stays. He's a nominee.
Why would he think Jill give it up? Yeah, I mean, what does he care? If they're going to win, it'll be by stealing and cheating anyway. So what would it matter if people are going to vote for him or not? They flew a bunch of illegals into all the towns that were they were at risk of losing, so they could harvest their ballots and vote for him.
Airdropped them in like Red fucking Dawn. Brown Dawn.
Wait, he's memeing, right? I can't tell.
Names. They just get the ballot and write the new illegal on there. There's your name. Here's some goofy signature. Whoop, there you go. Count it up, boys.
No, you do it in your state, but you can't just mail you a ballot. Like, you have to be registered to vote, and you can't register to vote if you're. There is no data to support. They've done multiple audits in multiple swing states.
Yeah, say his election history. Guys shooting at the president from the top of a building 100 feet away.
Nobody has ever established any kind of like outcome determinative voter fraud. It's never happened. Not in a single court.
You don't believe in voter fraud? You don't think there was voter fraud?
Has.
That's not what he said.
I said,
Hutch, I have an example of it happening.
Voter fraud.
Yes, it happened.
You can find individual examples, sure, but when we're talking about like,
wait a minute.
No, yeah, I don't think we're on the same. It happened in North Carolina. A Republican did it actually, and they messed with all the mail-in voter. It's not up to debate. Like, his son ratted him out.
He got charged.
He got charged, but he was too influential, and they dropped the case, so he got away with it, and he's running now, and he's going to win. But he did not. Basically, they didn't let him serve his term because, beyond any shadow of a doubt, he messed with the mail-in voter votes.
Crazy.
You can find individual instances of voter fraud. That's nobody contests that.
When you said individual instances, such, I thought you were referring to like one person who voted twice.
Well, no, I mean, like
hundreds of thousands of votes that were. I think I forget the mechanics of it, but I think they removed the votes that they didn't like.
That's less common than somebody. Oftentimes, like in Florida, for example, a lot of people voted when they didn't realize they couldn't vote because the law had changed, and there was like some law that went into effect having to do with convicted felons, and so there was some mix up there. But like, if you do a statewide audit in a state like Georgia and you find like 7 instances of voter fraud, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like, it's obviously not.
I agree.
They did a recount.
They did 3 recounts in Georgia, and one of the recounts was every single.
A recount is not an audit. To Dick's point.
Yeah. Just
a recount is just you're not actually auditing.
He lost it though. Trump fucking lost, man. I don't know.
I just want to know if you guys think that 2020 election was real.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Everybody knows it was real.
No, I said it was real.
81.
Just so you know, the reason why you say outcome determinative voter fraud is because conservatives will weasel sometimes, say actually voter fraud was discovered in 45 different cases, but like it'll be where like somebody didn't register in a state, or somebody actually tried to commit voter fraud, but it's like one person. It'll always be like, I mean, you've got how many hundreds of millions of people voting in the United States? You're not going to have any election where there's absolutely nothing happening ever, right? The standard is, it's like when BLM are like, there should be no cops ever being bad, ever. And it's like, there's always going to be some kind of thing going on. But outcome determinative, because it wouldn't influence any actual election. Like, there's no election that was so heavily voter frauded that it's like changing whole states or districts even or anything.
Million votes for that guy? Okay.
What is your actual
81 million votes against Trump.
What is your actual evidence that it's not real?
Not being a huge retard is my evidence. Are you fucking kidding me?
Wait.
There's no cheating at all. This is all legit. All these millions of people are totally just obeying the law. Then the next day they go back to stealing bikes.
Your personal feelings don't matter to me. I'm asking you, what is your actual evidence that there was massive voter fraud?
Not being a huge retard. That's my evidence.
So
what are you going to do? Oh, hey, FBI, can I get some of that evidence that you guys stole the election?
Okay, so if Joe Biden stays the nominee and he loses in November, and then he goes to court in all 7 swing states and he fails to establish fraud in every single case that he does, which are dozens of court cases, they all get thrown out. And let's say he asks Kamala Harris to accept false slates of electors, and she does. And she says, you know what? I'm going to certify these. Are you going to be okay with that?
Well, that's illegal now.
It is the exact same situation.
Are you talking about fake electors now? I'm talking about just straight ballot fraud.
These are all interlinked. He made different cases in different states alleging different kinds of fraud. He never established fraud in a single case. So, like, for you to just say, like, any of them, literally.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to go through every case because it would be weeks of time. But I'm pretty sure, I don't think they alleged fraud in any of the Trump cases. Can we Google that? Remember the line, not a single case was brought forward by Trump? Oh, maybe they found other people in all the states to do it then. Maybe that might have been it, yeah. Because it would have been, because otherwise it'd be Trump campaign v. whatever, right? Maybe, yeah.
There were over 60 cases, and none of them came back and told him you have demonstrated. Number one, many of them were dismissed on standing, which means he couldn't even establish harm. He couldn't even establish that a party was harmed.
Oh, that's crazy. The court said he didn't do anything wrong? Oh, man. I totally believe
they were his own judges in many cases. People he put on there.
Yes, his own Supreme Court even. I mean, like, what is your actual evidence that there was widespread voter fraud?
Just like having my eyes open and looking at like how voting is done.
It's just a vibe, Hutch.
You're just mailing ballots around, and these are not just total bullshit. Like, okay, man, what are you? Well, how much more looking into it do you want people to do?
None.
Please look at my super chat. Let's say that a conservative goes and says, yes, Trump tried to coup the government and I do want a dictator. And he argues that since the SCOTUS said the coup attempt was legal, this means the system is working as intended. Oh, then you just disagree. You say, I don't want a coup government.
If you pointed to a bunch of people looking into something and they came back with evidence, but that didn't happen, and now you're just saying like, well, I have a brain, and so obviously I know that it happened.
Yeah,
it's such a difficult position right now.
Sending ballots through the mail is obviously bullshit.
I feel like I've been in this spot so many times.
Hold on a second. How about one audit? One audit.
They did audits. They did vote audits.
They did recounts.
A recount is more extensive than an audit. An audit is when you look at like 10,000 votes or whatever, and then you extrapolate from that. A recount is
a recount is not an audit. Yeah, because I remember this news cycle being huge. Yeah, recounting is just recounting all the same ballots.
What was it, New Mexico? Where did
we don't
like cyber sleuths or whatever they were, cyber ninjas to look into it?
Obvious. It's obvious that the machines are bogus. There's none of it's tracked. You wouldn't trust a bank with the kind of bullshit Dominion hardware that they're using. It's obviously bullshit.
They audited it.
Dominion, there it is. God, Hutch, I wish I was on this show. Every time I'm on. They'll never talk politics. This would be the perfect time. Oh, you want to talk about the Dominion stuff? Well, aren't we in luck? I got a whole bunch of quotes from a lawsuit about it.
Obviously stupid.
There was the whole thing about the bamboo ballots. They found that wasn't true. There was the whole thing about the corrupt machines. That wasn't true. This was the team that the team that Trump hired came back and said Trump was wrong.
It netted Biden more votes. He ended up with more votes in Arizona after the audit. So, like, I'm sorry, if you're going to allege, like, I don't know, I think it's kind of serious to cast doubt on elections to the extent that millions of Americans, like, literally lose faith in the democratic process. That's a really bad road to go down for obvious reasons. And you just need more than just, like, oh, I have common sense. Like,
didn't you, just to be fair, like, you said Trump was like a Russian stooge for, like, years, and that the 2016 one wasn't legitimate.
Wait a second. I never said that votes were altered in 2016. I made a video that I got so much shit for the next day and told my audience, stop saying Trump is not your president. He got elected. This is reality, and we should learn from this moment and move on. I never said
but you're saying that casting doubt is dangerous, and that's what you did for a long time, right? By saying that it was Russian.
Not in the electoral process, just in the morals and the fact that Trump might have on him. Come on, let's be fair.
It's not even remotely the same, right? Like, we think there was Russian collusion, so we appoint a special counsel, so we investigate. Nothing happened, and then it's it. We drop it. We move on. Hillary didn't say Trump can't be president until Mueller finishes investigating. We didn't say we don't trust the special counsel. Actually, the special counsel lied. He's not on our team. We need a special counsel, right? We investigated. Nothing happened. We lied. Or not we lied. We well, actually, we did lie. We're still trying. The special counsel is working in the background.
I never and we all know process of, like, counting votes. What happened in 2016 is Trump got up there. Like, let me just ask you, if Hillary Clinton in 2016 would have gotten up there and said, hey, Iran, can you look for Trump's emails? And I'm sure the press will reward you mightily. And then
cool with that. Yeah, cool with that.
That's cool. I'm saying you guys would have been like, okay, this is fucking bullshit. But that's different.
No, I like that. No, if it went the other way, if Joe Biden was like, hey, Venezuela, I know y'all have a team that's in the know. You find any of those Trump PP tapes?
Are they right about there being no audits, and our audits and recounts vastly different? An audit and a recount is different. I think a recount is just recounting the ballots. Audit might involve more like signature matching or something. It really doesn't matter what you say. There's always the next thing, right? Like, they wanted the recounts didn't work. Then they wanted to audit, and then I think some places did audit, but then they said the audits aren't done good enough because the signatures are always there. The reality is they like Trump. All their friends like Trump. So there's no way that Trump lost the election, and that will be effected, right? That outcome will be effected in any way possible. So every type of investigation, every type of claim made, nothing matters until Trump is the winner. Otherwise, it's all a lie. And it's just like, yeah.
Mind if he did that. They would absolutely.
I don't care what they think.
Which is why lefties lost shit in 2016.
I want the truth. And if it comes from Russia or Iran or China, if they've got some truth to share, who are we to say, shut up, China, don't talk bad about Joe Biden? Like, no, tell me, what happened?
Do you guys think those Dominion machines are good with no audits?
Every party's voters that lose elections, every single time they say the fucking voting machines were fucked up. It happens literally every single. It happened 2000, 2004, 2000.
That I will annihilate. Where is Hutch? You should never. This is why my rhetoric has become so unhinged. Okay, you should never grant that. Okay, it was Bush v. Gore, right? I think Gore challenged the Florida election. All right, based on stuff relating to the machines. However, the reason why was because that election was insanely close, and whether or not some votes were being counted or not, because there's a stupid fucking thing. Back in the day, it was the big meme. The hanging chads was what the machines weren't punching fully enough, like some things, and it might be that there are like a few ballots that like maybe this doesn't actually, it's not being counted in a could change the election. That was a very, very close thing, but they went to the Supreme Court, they challenged it, they lost, and then they're done. That's it. Not even remotely comparable. Not even remotely comparable to Trump's behavior. What was the difference in votes? This was a really close election. On November 8th, 2000, the Florida Division of Elections reported that Bush won with 48.8% of the votes in Florida, a margin of victory of 1,784 votes. Less than 0.5% of the votes cast, so a statutorily mandated automatic machine recount occurred. On November 10th, with the machine recount apparently finished in all but one county, Bush's margin of victory had decreased to 327 votes. But yeah, it was a super close election. They pushed for a recount. Eventually, something went to the Supreme Court, or I think they wanted to do one more recount or something, and then the Supreme Court ruled, I think, against them. And then, but that was it. It's not even remotely the same as Donald Trump.
It's the same thing.
Why do we use like digital machines?
Yeah,
why don't we just use like paper, like most countries?
The machines create a paper ballot. See, like, all of this is just like people not knowing, like, how our legal processes work, how our government works, how the voting system works. It's just like,
or like audit.
Don't we have 150 million pieces of paper to count?
Oh, man, if only we were the most powerful country to ever exist. We could handle that.
We can't count? How can we recount then?
I mean, based on a YouTube video I saw, and it should be
fine with them getting rid of voting machines, but it would take a lot longer to count. And the last time we had an election, people flipped out because they were still counting votes. 3 days later, you had Donald Trump simultaneously telling some states to stop counting and then telling other states to continue counting. Like, the whole thing was absurd. Absolutely absurd.
So how many of the votes were bogus? How many of the votes in the last election were bad? 1%, 2%?
No, bro. Like 0.00001% is what they
There's that being retarded again. All the votes were good? Are you insane?
What is your actual evidence beyond use your brain?
Have you ever voted? You just go there, say whatever you want, and then go in there. Yeah, here you go. There's my vote.
They give you.
You people are the dumbest people you'll ever meet.
So you have no evidence. To be clear,
I see my neighbor there every time.
There's no evidence any of it is secure. You actually have to prove a chain of like provenance to do anything else except vote. To do anything else.
All right. We've been arguing about whether the election was stolen or not for a while now. And
would you be open to the theory that the Supreme Court is really the branch of government with the most power? No, I think we've got our checks and balances and everything are pretty hardcore in the U.S. I don't know if you could ever say that one branch is like the most powerful.
I think we can all agree.
Yeah. And I've got bits and pieces of it from my end. Like, yeah, Hutch will be about to it was so funny. Like, Hutch was about to launch into something, and I'm like, oh, I'm interested in what he has to say here. And he's like, and the thing is, for 2 minutes. I'm like, well, I guess
good shit.
I want to talk about this election. I'll kick it off. I think you're counting your chickens before your hatch.
I'm glad you said that because I want to take a quick vote before we go any further. Yeah. Who thinks Trump has it in the bag and it's game over?
No chance.
Just me? Oh, wrong.
I need a less confident option. Like if you said who thinks Trump is more likely to win, I might raise my hand.
Invincible.
Okay. Yeah,
invincible. All right, so let me just lay the case out really quickly. His base is incredibly galvanized right now. They are pumped. I wasn't joking. It's the RNC. Everybody's like, the hand of God came down and changed the future for you. Don't take it for granted. And they're saying, and they're wearing bandages on their fucking ears. Okay, the right is going to vote. The left's vote is an anti-Trump vote, not a pro-Biden vote. And all Biden has done for months is diminish at that and chip away at that. And if this is all taking place within the bubble of this inflation that my generation has never experienced before, that we didn't know could happen. You're watching the money, your dollar bills are literally like turning to powder in your hands when you're paying for $8 bacon. It's crazy. They make fun of Trump for talking about expensive bacon. He was like, I can't even afford it anymore. No more.
The Supreme Court is absolutely the most powerful. Conservatives can now challenge anything and have the Supreme Court vote in their favor. Dem challenge, we deny it. I mean, like, you could say that about literally everything, right? Like if you had enough liberals in Congress and a liberal president, you could impeach members of the Supreme Court. You could change the size of the Supreme Court. You could pass amendments to fundamentally change the Supreme Court. I mean, you can do. What do you mean? Like you can. Every branch of government has like the ability to do some pretty wacky shit. Like every branch, yeah, like.
No more bacon. And they're like, Trump rambles about bacon during unhinged remarks in Iowa. I can't imagine this thing. First of all, that my generation at that and chip away at that. And if this is all taking place within the bubble of this inflation that my generation has never experienced before, that we didn't know could happen. You're watching the money, your dollar bills are literally like turning to powder in your hands when you're paying for $8 bacon. It's crazy. They make fun of Trump for talking about expensive bacon. He was like, I can't even afford it anymore. No more. I told him, no more bacon. And they're like, Trump rambles about bacon during unhinged remarks in Iowa. I can't imagine this thing. First of all, my opinion is that Joe Biden is going to stay in the race. He's going to be the nominee. So I'm operating under that. The fact that y'all aren't, I guess.
Then your prediction might be in trouble because Joe Biden is the most popular president in American history.
Yeah.
According to Jill Biden.
600 million people.
And his lawyer.
He turned out more black people than Obama either time.
Not this time. Trump is going to have record numbers with minorities, with black voters, with brown voters, especially from the Muslim community that don't like quote unquote genocide Joe. And even if those people don't come out, hold their nose and vote Trump, they're certainly not going to come out and have a pro Biden vote because that guy's facilitating the genocide of their people as far as their perspective goes. So you can't get them to even think about voting for this guy. And I think that's going to.
It would be wild if Muslims were retarded enough to... I don't think so. No shot. Are Muslims voting? They might not vote for Biden, but they're not voting for Joe. Well, either he really doesn't understand the Muslim community in the United States, or I don't understand the Muslim community in the United States, and they're actually just fucking retarded. Because all you have to say to the Muslim community in the U.S. is that Trump moved the embassy to fucking Jerusalem. That's like... unhinged. It's like the most unhinged thing a president has done in regards to Israel in the past like 30 years. It's like unhinged.
To go far and wide. I don't think that Trump's going to win New York like some people are saying that he's going to contest.
How many understand the weight of that though? Arabs do. I don't know how plugged in Muslims in the United States are to Middle Eastern politics. I truly have no fucking idea. I really don't know. So yeah, who knows?
stuff like that. I think he's going to win New Hampshire, though. I think it's going to be a shitstorm. I think it's going to be 310 to 320 electoral votes for Trump.
$10 bet on New Hampshire. It goes blue.
If Muslims did vote for Trump, it wouldn't be because they're mobilized by the Genocide Joe stuff, although that might help a little bit. It would just be because they tend to align more on conservative social values, would be my guess. Can you explain why that's a big deal? In 67, when Israel went to war and took territory from the surrounding Arab states, part of the territory that it took was the West Bank, the whole chunk of land west of the River Jordan. And as part of that, East Jerusalem was conquered. So Jerusalem has kind of been split in two for a while, of West Jerusalem held by Israel, East Jerusalem held by Jordan. And then once Israel conquered the whole West Bank, they got East Jerusalem. I don't remember when. Was it immediately? No, it was... When did Israel formally announced the annexation of East Jerusalem as not occupied territory anymore, but they incorporated it into like actually Israel. Like they don't think it's contested. They don't think it's occupied or contested territory. It's just part of Israel proper. I want to say this was around 2004, but am I making this up? That's when they started building the wall. Second Intifada. 2005 was disengagement from Gaza. Would it have been after that? Let me check actually. Was it right away? Israel announces formal annexation of East Jerusalem. Let's check. Just kidding. 1980. So a long time ago. Okay. Yes. Okay. I believe it. So way back in 1980. However, even though Jerusalem was now unified way back in 1980 and it's seen as one coherent city now from Israel's eyes, I believe that every embassy was still located in Tel Aviv. The United States, and then like two other states, I think like Kuwait, because they'll do everything with you, and then I think one other country, we moved our embassy to Jerusalem, and the United States said, we are moving our embassy to Jerusalem. And what that is like a wink, wink, nod, nod to Israel, saying like, yeah, obviously this is one unified Jewish city that's controlled by the state of Israel, and we support that. We're supporting that. Oh, not Kuwait, but Kosovo. Sorry, you're right, not Kuwait, Kosovo. We'll do anything the U.S. says. So we recognize the movement of the embassy to Jerusalem, which legitimizes Israel's claim to that part of the land. Obviously, if you're Palestinian, you see this as a further encroachment on your land, and you see it as a further entrenchment of Israeli occupation. And part of that recognition of the movement of the embassy by Donald Trump is what encouraged the border riots in 2018, 2019. Because I think we recognized that movement in early 2018 or late 2017. Hold on. Trump moves embassy Jerusalem. Okay, he announced it on 2017, in December. And then the border riots started in February, March, so even earlier. Okay, March, yeah. Muslims have already forgotten about the Muslim ban. Why do you think they'll remember moving the embassy? Because the embassy removal, I think, was a fairly big deal. Also, if you're Muslim, the Abraham Accords are probably also like pretty shit too. You also probably feel pretty bad about that as well.
You say it goes red?
I mean, that would be a smart bet for you. I don't say it goes red.
That's why I'm proposing it.
Have you looked, by the way, Trump's ahead in the registered voter polls there, the most recent ones. Like
it doesn't matter. You haven't considered the 3 a.m. voter.
All 10 million of them.
I thought we were moving on. Yep.
We are moving on. It was a quick aside.
It's fun.
I'm so glad that I'm the one who is going to be seen as the visionary when people look back on this episode. They'll see me surrounded but undeterred. That I couldn't be. There's this experiment. There's this social experiment where they put 8 guys in a room and 7 of them are actors and one of them is the actual participant. And in order, they asked them, are these lines the same length? And they're not. It's different length lines. And all 7 in a row say.
He's talking about the ask line test. Not line text. Conformity experiment. We've watched videos on this before.
Okay, I want to give you a test of your visual acuity, your sensitivity to differences in line.
Holy shit. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold the fuck on. Oh my fucking God. We've got... This might be the first time I get I'm going for a 90% agreement in chat. I think I've got a strong one here. Hold the fuck on. Oh my fucking God. It's a goddamn doppelganger. Holy shit. Oh, I can't even believe this. Oh my God, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Not Aragorn. Just kidding. Not Aragorn. Not Aragorn. Bronn! Tell me this guy is not fucking Bronn's twin brother. Look at this shit. Tell me this guy is not Bronn from Game of Thrones. 100%. He absolutely is. He absolutely is his. He's not even his twin brother. It is him. It is him. Yes? It is absolutely him. There's a big poll. Good luck. Okay, 63%. I'll take it. I'll take it. Sorry.
Yes, same. Yes, same. They ignore reality. And 35% of the time, the 8th guy will say, yeah, my reality, I'm with y'all. But if you have just one person in that chain of 7 to disagree, it drops down to 5%. Suddenly this person's willing to hop on somebody else's ship because they can see that island in the sea and it's void of
and I love it.
Come on, boys. The island's safe. Okay, it's warm. Trump's got this.
Wait, what?
Different linked lines, participants.
Sorry.
So yes, same. Yes, same. They ignore reality. And 35% of the time, the 8th guy will say, yeah, my reality, I'm with y'all. But if you have just one person in that chain of 7 to disagree, it drops down to 5%. Suddenly this person's willing to hop on somebody else's ship because they can see that island in the sea and it's void of
and I love it.
Come on, boys. The island's safe. Okay, it's warm. Trump's got this locked up. Go to every single swing state. Use whatever polling you want. I prefer registered voters because those are the guys who are up for it. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, Georgia, Florida, Ohio. Virginia's not that far out of reach. Biden's, of course, leading Virginia by 2 or 3, but it's going to be one of those too close to call, folks. The state of Virginia, it's going to be neck and neck.
And also down ballot races are obviously super important.
More important than the presidency.
The best, we'll say just as important, but the best the Democrats can do in the Senate is 50-50. The West Virginia seat is gone. And so it's down to Ohio and
Michigan, Minnesota.
No. The only 2 Senate races right now that are truly competitive are Ohio and Montana. And if the Democrats can win, and Democrats, the rest of the country are well overperforming Biden, like by 8 to 12 points. It's crazy how much they're overpolling from him. But if Democrats can hold those 2 states, then they can keep it 50-50. But
that won't matter because Trump will be president. He'll have the VP will have the vote.
Well, that's why they want. That's why Pelosi and them want Biden to step aside, is because they're seriously worried about him dragging down ballot candidates, which is obviously real concern. He's been trending in the wrong direction since the debate.
It's why I say Joe Biden is a bigger threat to democracy than Donald Trump ever could be by this arrogant.
It's such a fucking retarded thing. Like, Joe Biden is a bigger threat to democracy because he might be the reason why Donald Trump loses, who would destroy democracy. Why can't we just say that, like, oh, wouldn't that just make Donald Trump the biggest threat then to democracy? It's like saying, like, Ukraine would be the cause of World War III if Ukraine responds too aggressively to Russia's invasion. Maybe Russia, like, shouldn't have invaded? Maybe that would be, like, the thing? Or
fucking nonsense that he's pulling right now. Like I'm Big Boy Joe and I know better than all of you and anyone. 65% of my party polled right now thinks that I should drop out. 65% of my party. And yet, no, I'm in there. He's sick right now with COVID somewhere and he still sees a way out.
Kyle, I want to pierce this balloon. I need a chance to reply. After the RNC, John McCain was leading. After the RNC, Mitt Romney was leading. After the DNC, Hillary Clinton was leading. The fact that you are having a good time right now at this moment where everything is going Trump's way, and he's leading by what nationally? 2%, 3%? That's not a lot. This contest is still on.
We don't do a popular vote, and Donald Trump just took a bullet to the head.
So another thing to consider.
Joe's in bed. Joe's in bed. Donald got shot in the head. That's what happened this week.
I don't interfere with your Republican on Republican violence. I blame your video games and your culture. I mean, I think the guy who maybe played Rust, he was a roof camper. That's my theory on this whole thing. But it had nothing to do with us.
So another thing to consider
too, donated to get out the vote for Vote Blue.
And it's not even an argument. Another thing that is true is, like, I don't think you should ignore the polls, and I especially don't think you should ignore trends. Like, there's a lot of like insanely pro-Biden Twitter accounts that are just full-on copium. They only point to the polls that have him up like +1 and ignore all the rest that have him down like 5 or 6.
Pennsylvania.
Wait, how profitable was 538? Literally 99% of Trump's supporters are conspiracy theorists. How did we let America get this misinformed and lead by random conspiracy theories online instead of listening to reputable sources of news? Good question. Fox News is partially to blame, though. $250,000? Damn. Did he like own part of that company and they like sold it or something, or he sold it to ABC? Oh. 538 sale filings. People say poker. I don't believe that at all. But okay. I don't know why I just clicked this. How much should they sell it for? Is it like publicly listed anywhere? ABC, it should be, right? Via Hendon Mob. What are you looking for exactly? I'm just curious how much 538 sold for. 250K is a big bet. Like, this guy's worth over, like, my guess would be over $20 million if he's willing to just, like, throw out a $250,000 bet. Unless he's just posturing and he's hoping that he doesn't accept. They were trying to sell, but you don't know if they did. Huh.
I think it is fair to point out, though, that number one, the
250K is all he's got. He's trying to double up.
one and ignore all the rest. I have him down like 5 or 6. I think it is fair to point out, though, that number one, the polls in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania are within the margin of error, and if Biden can win all 3 of those, he does win the presidency, assuming he stays in, which he won't. And number 2, the polls have been underselling Democrats since the Dobbs decision. There was a red wave predicted in 2022. The most projections had Republicans winning anywhere between a 25 and a 35 seat majority, if I recall correctly. That didn't pan out. We've seen Democrats overperforming in special elections, not just in specific enclaves of the country, but all over the country. I don't think you should hang your hat on that and ignore the trends, but I think there is some reason to be dubious in this spot.
I want to get a count real quick. Kyle is the only one who thinks Joe is going to still be the guy.
No, I think he's going to stay in.
You think he's going to stay?
Yeah.
I think he's going to be forced out. And Hutch, what do you both think Biden's going to be forced out?
Kamala?
He's gone. He's gone. Yeah, and Kamala will probably.
I think it won't be Biden.
I think, yeah. Didn't he openly
run an
say,
Indian
like,
lady against a guy with an Indian wife?
I'm hoping it's Whitmore, but
both cancel out.
That's crazy.
That cancels out.
If you're Whitmer, would you say yes? I mean, I feel like if you're Whitmer, if you're Newsom, if you're Buttigieg or whatever, and you have these larger aspirations for
please run Buttigieg.
Why would you not wait until 2028? I mean,
yeah, I think man, dude. If you have aspirations for, well, or maybe not. Who knows, bro? Everything is so wacky right now. Maybe this is the best chance. Who knows? Do you think a single person on the conservative side will denounce anything Loomer said, or will they just ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist? Probably ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist. Even on her deathbed, this ghetto bitch couldn't keep President Trump's name out of her disgusting mouth. I'd say rest in peace, but we all know lying Democrats who have destroyed our country are going to hell. Sheila Jackson Lee will be remembered as a destructive force in America and one of the most low IQ members of Congress in the history of our nation. Today, she died. Instead of spending her final moments with her family, she was talking shit about Trump on X and spewing more lies. She won't be missed. But I'm sure she will be voting for Democrat in this November. Good riddance. I'm sure there will be the same outcry here.
It's just so risky to, because if you swing once and miss, it's really difficult to come back from that.
I follow a lot of sports, and one of the major points of winning the championship is getting to the championship. And I feel like they're offering her a seat at the finals. You say no to that? Against Trump? Trump sucks. The only person Trump can beat in an election is Hillary Clinton so far. Trump lost to Biden, hiding in the basement, while Trump went out there.
You also remember, we qualify more things, okay? Be proud, liberals. Hillary Clinton lost the election to Donald Trump. She still crushed him in the popular vote. Millions more votes than Trump, okay? Always remember to point that out, okay?
And lost the election on himself. People are like, I can't believe Biden got 81 million votes. Biden got like 1 million votes. And then there were 80 million against Trump.
Yes.
So then why would Biden drop out then if they're just voting against Trump?
Because 2 out of 3 Democratic voters want him gone, including a plurality of black voters. It's like and independent voters, it's like 70% want him gone. It's just all.
So it wasn't about Trump.
Wait, what? When?
You asked why
the first time, the election you stole, that wasn't just voting against Trump. It doesn't matter who he's running against; they're just going to vote against him again, right?
The election that Biden won was not enthusiasm for Biden. He has never had a cult of personality like Obama or Clinton or JFK or whatever. He was seen as this or Trump for that matter. It was people were way more engaged with politics because they were spending way more time indoors and spending way more time on social media, and there was a huge influx of voters that were disgusted with Trump. That's what happened. So he's just like it's just not it's not the same. It's a totally different dynamic now, which is why he needs, in my opinion, he needs to step aside.
Yeah. Well, he also needs to step aside, not just because of the polling, because he's a senile old man, and he has been for years. And it's wild to see the pivot from the media, who just until a week ago was calling people conspiracy theorists for pointing out that this guy can't find his way up an airplane flight of stairs, and he's walking around with Mr. Burns' hands. And then suddenly it's like the media says one thing about it, and everyone's like, oh, okay, we've been given permission to talk about this. Yeah, he's a senile old man. Get him out.
Also, keep in mind, too, unless nobody's contradicted me on this, if stuff like this is leaking to the media, it's probably intentional. Like this isn't happening by accident, and it's not happening because of like the strongest argument that Joe Biden doesn't actually want to step down is the fact that all of this stuff is leaking to the media because people are trying to pressure him to leave. That Obama and Pelosi and other leadership is trying to pressure him to leave. And since they can't do it internally, they're like, "Fuck it, all right, talk to our media contact, get them to leak it or whatever." And now people see there's pressure externally, and it's supposed to pressure Biden to probably to step down, right? AOC said as much in her live stream. Well, there you go. She'd know more than me.
Who here thinks Biden has a degenerative neural disorder of some kind, a Parkinson's-esque thing?
We have no idea about that, but okay.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
okay.
obvious.
How much?
I have not seen evidence. I mean, I'm not a Parkinson's expert. I mean, he's a 81-year-old man, and for all intents and purposes, he's aging like a normal 81-year-old man. The problem is, you know, there's a lot of people like Taylor that think he's literally senile. Whatever. I mean, my opinion aside, there's just a lot of people that think that, and a lot of people have concerns that he can't serve a second term. And
my grandparents are about 81, and they are not senile, and so they don't behave like Biden does. They can hold conversations with you. They don't get randomly angry when it gets to be nighttime. They don't get sundowning, which is a sign of dementia, where they become
randomly angry. Wait, are there video clips of Biden getting randomly angry? Also, bro, people have different cognitive levels when they age. It like depends a lot. Like the idea, like, oh no, at 81, everybody's like sharp as a tack. Like it super depends. My grandma's not a good example because she had dementia. Because I was gonna say, my grandma had all sorts of crazy things in her 60s, but because she had Alzheimer's disease, or I think she just has some kind of dementia. I don't know if it was actually diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. I'm trying to think, who else did I know? My kid's mom, Rachel's great grandma. That woman was fucking wild. We went to a family reunion. Family reunions are very interesting. We've got like great grandparents there because you'll have like 2 people, and then like before you, there's like 100 people who all exist because of like these 2 people. She was incredibly sharp, and I think she was like 102 years old. Jesus, like damn.
Irritable and extremely tired. Like I think Woody was talking about a Parkinson's expert who finally got on the news, and they were like, "Hey, it's okay to notice this now." He's like, "Oh, okay, good. Yeah, this guy has Parkinson's."
I saw about a 10-minute video from a Parkinson's expert, so now I am also a Parkinson's expert.
Same.
Doctor. And Woody saw that video, and so now I am a Parkinson's expert.
Doctor.
But no, actually, I could send you the video, Hutch. It was incredibly influential on me. I know, right? But if you saw it, I think you'd be like, oh, this guy.
I'm open-minded to stuff. I'm not a neurological expert, and I've been around somebody in close proximity who had full-on dementia. It looked nothing like this. I mean, just nothing like it. So, but I also have a friend who works in hospice.
I would also say, man, you gotta depend. It really depends. Remember what I've said before is people draw really big inferences from from one interaction, right? When somebody tells you, I hate Indians, they're rude and fucking horrible, right? What they're really telling you is, I had one bad experience with an Indian. Or if they say, I hate the XYZ people, I hate Asian people, it's because they had one bad experience with an Asian person. Like, it's 99% of the time, people generalize from one thing. Yeah, I don't know. My grandma was in, is it hospice? Would it have been hospice? It was some kind of home before she ended up moving down with my parents. But in walking through there, I guess everybody didn't have dementia. But the differences in cognitive levels of people, even with dementia, can be even the same person. Because like my grandma, there were times where, I think I said this, I noticed that like when she would sit and watch TV, she was just laughing along with the studio audience. I don't think she had any concept of what she was watching some days. It was at the point where I had full power of attorney over her when I was like 19 because I had to manage her bills and shit. No, 18? No, 17. 18, I think. And, so some days she's like completely fucking just staring at the TV. But then other days she's at lunch, she's talking with all her girlfriends. Like I come home and they're like all chatting and laughing and she's like super lucid, super like cognitive, everything happening. She's like super like, oh, okay. So, and that's just one person, right? The exact same person just from one day to the next could change. So all this to say, I would be very careful about generalizing what people with dementia or different cognitive declines can look like, or neurodegenerative things can look like. These can manifest in a lot of different ways, and even in an individual, it could vary from day to day. Just, I'd say, be careful saying like, this is what all of these types of people look like, you know?
And he says he sees Parkinson's all the time. And he says when he looks at Biden, he thinks Parkinson's. So I'm open. I'm just.
But one of the things this guy talked about was not just the mental stuff, which is what we're focused on in this conversation, the physical stuff.
His physical gait.
Okay, so then would you trust your grandma running the country, someone who's pretty much there but can have some really bad days? In an ideal world, I'm not sure if I would want Biden running the country cognitively. I would want my Alzheimer's disease, lung cancer-ridden grandma to run the country over Hitler, though.
The way that he shuffles, the way that he walks without swinging his hands, the way that he turns. You know, if I were to ask you, yeah, that's actually true. If I were to say, hey, Hutch, you'd probably turn your upper body and look at me quickly. If I said,
big ups, Nebraska Steve, absolute W take on Trump assassination attempt and the racist that brought it. Also, big ups on making that pig scammer sweat on Lol Cow Live. Jesus Christ.
Hey, Joe, he'd pivot his whole body and shift towards me. Yeah. And one of the things he said, I don't know why it hit me so hard, is he's like, I could diagnose this guy from across the mall. Now, I am an expert in swimming. If I see a guy take 2 strokes.
Destiny, would you agree that what you just said means that just because Biden has good days is not proof of the fact that he does not have some sort of degenerative issue? Yeah, I guess. I don't think I've ever made the statement, Biden absolutely doesn't have any degenerative issue. I don't know that. I can't know that. I haven't done like a full investigation or a full review. I have no fucking idea. He could. I don't know if him like fucking up debates is enough to say that you have dementia. And I understand too, again, this is like, I don't even try these arguments publicly because it's just fucking, it's a waste of time. But dementia refers like pretty specifically to, I think dementia requires physical deterioration of the brain. And it's not just like ordinary cognitive aging. Let me double check on this. Dementia is a syndrome associated with many neurodegenerative diseases characterized by a general decline in cognitive abilities that affects a person's ability to perform everyday tasks. Problems with memory, thinking, behavior, and motor control, aside from memory impairment and a disruption of thought patterns. Most common symptoms of dementia include emotional problems, difficulty with thinking. Okay, maybe not. Maybe dementia can be a bit broader. But somebody having like trouble with conversations and stuff, or especially like with live debates, doesn't necessarily imply dementia, right? It could just be aging and, or ordinary cognitive declines from aging. I don't know if I've seen something from Biden where I'm like, oh my God, absolutely dementia, versus like this guy is getting older, 100%. but not to say like this positively, like, oh, he absolutely doesn't have dementia because he had a good conversation. People can be very far into Alzheimer's disease, like years in, and have really bright days and good conversations. It's possible,
I can tell you his level of swim competence and experience. And I had this experience where I had a plantar fasciitis, it's probably my foot. I went to an orthopedic surgeon. He had me walk like 3 strides and he could see what was up. Like he instantly understood. I thought my gait was fairly normal, but to him, it stuck out like a sore thumb. So to see a subject matter expert look at how this guy moves and say it couldn't be more obvious, I was like, oh, damn.
Well, he's clearly diminished
Democrat.
Substantially since 2020. I mean, if you want to blow your mind even more, go back to the 2012 debate with Paul Ryan. It's just he did not stutter at all. He was very cogent.
Yeah.
And,
I thought Paul Ryan won that when I watched it, and I may have been really biased at the time, but I was like incensed that they had given it to Joe Biden. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even remember the substance of it. But as far as his dementia, like I just think it's they do that thing where they take things out of context. These little blurbs where someone gets a name wrong. Sometimes they used to do that, and I'd roll my eyes, like, come on, like. Focus on his actual flaws. Don't just cut this thing and make it look like he said the wrong thing. He was telling a joke, or he was riffing, or he was quoting. And you make it seem like he's saying the thing. I hate that. And sometimes and I was like, "What are you talking about?" I don't even remember the substance of it.
Since 2020. I mean, if you want to blow your mind even more, go back to the 2012 debate with Paul Ryan. It's just he did not stutter at all. He was very cogent.
Yeah. And I thought Paul Ryan won that when I watched it, and I may have been really biased at the time, but I was like incensed that they had given it to Joe Biden. I was like, "What are you talking about?" I don't even remember the substance of it. But as far as his dementia, like I just think it's. They do that thing where they take things out of context. These little blurbs where someone gets a name wrong. Sometimes they used to do that, and I'd roll my eyes, like, come on, like, focus on his actual flaws. Don't just cut this thing and make it look like he said the wrong thing. He was telling a joke, or he was riffing, or he was quoting. And you make it seem like he's saying the thing. I hate that. And at first I thought that was happening to Joe Biden mostly, and it was kind of funny. And he is an old guy with a stutter. He does have a speech impediment. But the thing is, he keeps calling people the wrong names that are his close group. It'd be like me getting you guys' names wrong right now. And I've got notes in my hands that have your names on them. He keeps getting them wrong, and he'll be like, you caught me at a bad time. Next week I'm talking to Lester Holt, and I'll be able to tell names again. Gooder. He said Gooder.
And the scrutiny since the debate has been so much more intense. So I'll tell you from the perspective of someone who's been a tireless Biden soldier on the front lines of the digital fucking political arena, because I do like his policies. I do like his administration's decisions, which is just all that matters to me. I got to tell you, from my perspective, I'm like the big black man at the end of the Green Mile. I'm just tired. So every time he gets in front of a microphone now, to setting aside his policies, which again I like, it's just anxiety inducing every time he speaks now. And so I'm ready to, I realize it's a risky thing to have Kamala take over, but
I'm glad. You're like that guy at Green Mile, except you're injecting poison into America instead of taking it out.
All right, let's go back
so true. So true. So true.
Wouldn't you guys say that all the dementia stuff aside, this is more about just people that are ideologically entrenched? Like if your guy was speaking the same way that Biden was speaking, you would still vote for him because you would like the policies, you would like the administration, blah 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 blah.
The moment Trump stops being funny, the moment Trump stops being funny, when the joke, when the crowd starts laughing at him instead of with him, that's the moment it breaks for me, and that's when he goes.
Hold on, Dick. You would vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump?
No, I just wouldn't vote. I never voted before Trump. I wouldn't vote again. I fucking hate Republicans. I hate Trump's entire staff. I hate JD Vance.
Maybe
we're all kind of then. Woody's the closest here to a traditional.
Yeah, but I'm the voter that you need. You have to get.
Maybe guys who don't vote. No, yeah. Taylor is.
I never voted for. I don't. I fucking hate Republicans
right
too.
The last 10 years, Woody.
I'm sorry.
You notice Taylor's slow shift to the right the last decade, and my slow shift to the left.
I noticed Taylor's shift farther to the right, further.
I don't think so. I think a lot of people just moved left, and maybe
you were pro-life.
I'm definitely. Oh yeah, that's true.
Pro-choice, you mean?
Dementia is necessarily neurodegenerative. If it's used to label only symptoms, it's being used in an informal way. Maybe, yeah. But I say that now, but I mean, technically, I think dementia is just considered like a syndrome or whatever, right? Like, I don't know if you actually, I don't know if you need a degradation of brain structures or if a degradation of brain structures necessarily implies dementia, because your brain deteriorates a bit as you get older, and it doesn't necessarily, like a decrease in white matter or some shit. I should just read it, actually. Fuck it. Let's check, actually, maybe. Dementia is a syndrome associated with many neurodegenerative diseases characterized by a general decline. Okay, we read this part. Many neurocognitive disorders may be caused by another medical condition or disorder, including brain tumors, and subdural hematoma, endocrine disorders such as hypothyroid. I gotta go with this. What's the name of what I'm looking for? Oh no, I guess you wouldn't really have like a formal diagnosis because it's just like a syndrome, huh? Well, but that's not true because you diagnose AIDS, which is just a syndrome, and that happens after a certain white blood cell count, right? Gun to your head, would you rather have syphilis or Alzheimer's? Probably syphilis. No, isn't syphilis curable? Alzheimer's disease, is he not talking about this? Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia, but it's not, but that refers to a very particular type of disease. That's a particular disease that causes dementia. Neurocognitive disorders as diagnosed in the DSM-5. Fuck all this shit. We don't have time for this. Don't have time, don't care.
I did say it backwards. He was previously pro-choice, and now he's pro-life.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm cutting in. Someone's talking right now. Yeah, I've definitely moved to the right on some stuff, like abortion. For like my mid-20s, I was one of those, like, that is a big one. And I was like someone who was pro-abortion.
Needing abortion,
like,
potentially.
Out of personal convenience of like, oh yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with that. They should do it. And
You're
then
pro?
I kind of...
More of those people now?
I'm more anti-abortion. Like I'm pro-life in that I think it's wrong and I don't like it. Like, and so I would rather not see abortions happen.
I volunteer at the clinic.
Interesting.
No, you do
gas.
fucking not. You
it's a fucking gas. You don't even know. This one lady, she's got a punch card.
You know what the colloquial term means that is its historical usage? Sure, but medically, dementia implies something more than just ordinary cognitive decline, right? I think dementia, once it's diagnosed that you have dementia, then most diseases associated with it are going to lead to a pretty significant decline on like a pretty limited timetable, right? Average, I don't even know if I can make that generalization actually. Let's see. Average life expectancy after dementia diagnosis. Alzheimer's disease is 3 to 11 years. That's if you're diagnosed at age 65. 3 years for people diagnosed at age... This is also hard too, though, is a lot of these fuckers are diagnosed when they're really old. All right, I don't know.
All right. She loves it. She says it feels good. I'm telling you, these lefties, that's how they are. They'll get pregnant for the thrill.
Dementia isn't like the retarded word. It's a specific diagnosis. I've never thought of it as a colloquialism. Well, kind of, but it's not. It's a thing. It's a syndrome. And syndromes are just descriptions of collections of symptoms, right? If you got a syndrome itself it's not caused by any particular thing, or it can be caused by a variety of things. It can be caused by a particular thing, but not necessarily, right? And it's not I think you can say it is a disease, or it's caused by a disease. What would the difference be between like a disease and a syndrome? Fuck. Don't stop sucking me here. Disease versus syndrome. That's what I said to your mom. A disease is a disorder that affects the body's functions, usually has a known cause, a distinct course, and established treatments. A syndrome is a group of symptoms that are known to occur together, but may not have a clear cause, course, or treatment path. AIDS is almost exclusively caused by HIV. I think there's one other really niche thing that could cause AIDS. But why is it called AIDS and not AID? Why is it called acquired immunodeficiency syndrome and not acquired immunodeficiency disease? If it's almost exclusively caused by HIV. Can I Google this? Why is it called AIDS and not AID? Somebody. will have asked this question somewhere. No. NBC analysis, Parkinson's. Is that what you guys are saying? Is it this? Dementia is not just one disease, as the WHO described it. No, dementia is a syndrome. Dementia itself is not a one thing. It's a general description of like an accelerated neurological decline that's usually associated with diseases that are neurodegenerative in nature, meaning parts of the brain are rotting. Oh my God, there's a fucking link. Just Brandon, good job. You got a 1 day for that. Why is AIDS considered to be a syndrome and not a disease? AIDS is caused by a virus called HIV that kills the immune cells in the body. These immune cells are responsible for the production of antibodies to fight against different infections and pathogens. So when a person is infected with HIV, his or her immunity to fight against a different pathogen is lowered. As a result, different types of viral and bacterial pathogens can invade their body, and different types of disease infections affecting different body parts and organs can be developed. Hence, AIDS is not a single disease, but a group of diseases. That's why it's called a syndrome. Really, though? Because I feel like AIDS is diagnosable not once you start getting infected with opportunistic infections, which is there are a lot of natural bacteria that live in the body that once you have AIDS begin to take advantage of you opportunistically. They backstab you, right? Vosh would be an example of an opportunistic infection. AIDS, but I thought you're diagnosed with AIDS even if you don't necessarily have an opportunistic infection. I thought the diagnosis of AIDS just occurs when the white blood cell count has dropped enough. Do you ever look into IRS tax exemption or credits for your mom since she has Alzheimer's? Why would you get credits or exemptions? Wait, what? People are diagnosed with AIDS when their CD4 cell count drops below 200 cells per millimeter of blood. Or they develop certain illnesses, such as opportunistic infections. Oh. So maybe there are multiple... Oh, wait, this is AI generated. I shouldn't trust this bullshit. HIV.gov. Okay, if anybody's the authority on this. Wait, what? Where does AIDS only infect white blood cells? Or HIV? Yes, wasting all of our time today. Yes. Or do they hide in other organs or whatever too? Destiny, people can have a CD count less than 50 and we still don't diagnose them with AIDS. You need an AIDS-defining illness to have the formal diagnosis of AIDS. Oh. Like in theory, if you had AIDS and were locked in a hermetically sealed room, you wouldn't actually be harmed at all. The actual bad part comes from the other diseases fucking your shit up, so it makes sense to include those other diseases in AIDS itself. I understand what you're saying, but that's not true. In the human body, there's a whole bunch of bacteria and are there viral things? I think it's mainly just bacteria that live, that like naturally work with, they chill. They're like chilling. They're big chilling. And they're found throughout your digestive tract, all over your skin, whatever. But what happens when you have HIV is it's kind of like living next to a friend who you've been chill with the whole time. And then you think eventually you are, you're so chill that you can like start leaving your doors unlocked because all your white blood cells get killed. And then this guy starts walking into your basement and stealing all of your video games. You don't have to, even if you were locked in a room with HIV for your whole life and all of your, but nothing else ever comes into the room, just the naturally occurring bacteria that will fuck you. I think one of the ways that you can diagnose HIV is if you bring in a patient and you test them and they have a disease. I think there are certain types of diseases. There are certain types of pneumonias, I think, where like when you test it and the person has it, it's like, oh shit, how the fuck are you infected by this? Like the only way this is happening is if you have AIDS. Like you must. There's normal people don't get infected by this, I believe. Can you get HIV from oral sex? If like your partner is bloody and you're bloody, maybe, I think. But I think that's pretty difficult. Look up AIDS defining illnesses online and it'll be there. I thought there was literally only two. I thought it was HIV. I thought it was HIV and there's like one other very, very niche. Oh wait, unless you're talking about the like the opportunistic infections. No, I'm talking about the pathogens. There's a ton. There's a ton of pathogens that can cause your white blood cell count to fall that low, or there's a ton of pathogens that are opportunistic infections. Yeah, there's a lot of cancers and stuff that can. Yeah. Some people catch their HIV because they get dandruff from a yeast infection. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's like 20 of them. You have to remember them for boards and shit. Why? You said you get STD tested twice a month. Is that true? No, twice a month? Usually it'll be every few months. I just got one recently, though. I like they changed the way that they show the results on your CVS, too, so you have to click through every single individual lab. So I get to see one at a time. Whether or not I'm dying.
To talk more about those 8 White House visits by the Parkinson's expert, I'm joined tonight by Dr. Tom Pitts. He's a quadruple board-certified neurologist. He sees...
What does quadruple board-certified mean? Why would you get board-certified more than once?
Patients with Parkinson's all the time. He diagnoses it. I want to be completely transparent here. You've never examined President Biden. From my knowledge, you've never even spoken yet to President Biden.
Been in the same room as
and we're just going to use what we have so far, which is what we've seen, the president's interviews, and the information coming out of the White House. So my first question to you...
Oh, different states. Okay. By the way, this Parkinson's expert was visiting the White House because they passed a Parkinson's bill. Remember when we weren't allowed to speculate on Donald Trump's mental health anymore, guys? Oh, wait, this is for 2024. Remember when it was, is it uncouth? That's a word, right? Awkward, clumsy, or unmannerly. It was uncouth for psychologists to come out and speculate on Donald Trump's mental health. But anyway, so here's our Parkinson's expert who's never formally examined President Biden to tell us why he has Parkinson's.
Is what we've seen, the president's interviews, and the information coming out of the White House. So my first question to you is, as somebody who's a neurologist, what you've seen from the president over the last 2 years, what you saw at the debate, the last few interviews, the way he speaks, the way maybe he walks, have you noticed anything that gives you a red flag as a doctor?
Oh, yeah, I see him 20 times a day in clinic. I mean, it's ironic because he has just such classic features of neurodegeneration. I mean...
Wait, I see him 20... Hold on, I need to pay attention to this. 1 second.
The last few interviews, the way he speaks, the way maybe he walks. Have you noticed anything that gives you a red flag as a doctor?
Oh, yeah, I see him 20 times a day in clinic. I mean, it's ironic because he has just such classic features of neurodegeneration. I mean, word-finding difficulties, and that's not, oh, I couldn't find the word. That's from degeneration of the word retrieval area.
He's also overcome stuttering, though. Could that be part of that, too?
No, this is not a palatal issue or a speech discrepancy, which is very different from a lemon node dysfunction, actual word retrieval, where you pick a similar question or talk around the issue, plus the rigidity, monotone voice.
Wait, go back to that, the rigidity. What do you mean?
Rigidity, loss of arm swing, standing up lordotically. You notice when he turns, it's kind of end-block turning. It's not a quick turn. So that's one of the hallmarks of Parkinsonism is rigidity and bradykinesia, slow movement. And he has that hallmark, especially with the low voice that said was a cold, hypophonia. A small monotone voice like this over time is a hallmark of Parkinsonism. I could have diagnosed him from across the mall.
Here are some of the symptoms from Parkinson's. We just had him up there on the screen. If we can put him back. What about the movement? Some people have pointed out the way he walks sometimes. It's not very fast, small steps. Is that something that is common in people who are battling a disease like Parkinson's?
Yeah, it's a hallmark. Shuffling gait, we call that, so little steps. Loss of arm swing from the rigidity. When we walk, we have a nice cadence. You notice he doesn't really swing his arms. And end block turning, meaning he kind of pivots around his foot. If you said, hey, President Biden, he wouldn't go like this. So, yeah.
But I also know, tell me if I'm wrong here, it's very hard to diagnose Parkinson's, isn't it? It's not simple. I mean, I've heard that it can be...
one of the easier movement disorders to diagnose, actually. Right. But it's so clinic. There's very little other... And I'm a Democrat. I always say about this.
Right.
It's just like, this guy is not a hard case.
But I've had relatives who have gone through neurological issues, and I've heard that sometimes Parkinson's is not very easy to nail. You have to take a lot of tests.
It's early on if you're just presented with like hallucinations. That could be a variety of things, or just the cognitive problems. That could be Alzheimer's versus Parkinsonism, and that becomes a little nebulous. But once you start manifesting the hallmark motor symptoms, right, slow movement, rigidity, mass facies, hypophonia. I mean, if a med student did not pick Parkinson's on the test, they'd be remediated.
So let me ask you.
Okay, we already are lawyer experts, so I want to be a medical expert too. Okay, here are questions that I would ask that make me really uncomfortable with this. However, I have not done anywhere near the amount of medical research. I'm sorry. Let me be clear. I don't think I've done any medical research. I've read like studies on diseases and done a lot of vaccine research, but in terms of like actually being a physician, I've done absolutely nothing. Okay, so I don't know. I could be incorrect on literally everything I'm about to say. Okay, so I think there's a couple things to keep in mind. One is, I think, to diagnose somebody without having a formal relationship with a person, there's one big issue you run into by doing this informally. And one is you don't have access to patient history, right, to their chart. part of diagnosing somebody, and this gets exponentially more harder when they're older, is when you're doing like a differential diagnosis, right? You have to account for some symptoms and you have to rule out other symptoms, right? So for instance, if I see somebody, it could be very easy to find symptoms that are at clinical stages, like they're presenting very significantly. And it's like, oh, he's got A, B, and C. This guy has absolutely XYZ disease for sure. But if you were the actual person's physician, you might know, oh, well, hold on. 2 of these are accounted for because he just started a medication for this thing. These are common side effects. Or actually, he's got another disease and he's treating it with this medication, and this is why this particular thing is manifesting like this. If you don't have access to a person's chart or their patient history, there could be more at play that you aren't aware of. So I think you probably should be very responsible or make people know that you don't have access to this person's medical history, or their current, like you don't know their current medications, you don't know their any current other issues you might be suffering. That's one thing. I think a second thing that you have to keep in mind is when it comes to certain symptoms, there are a lot of symptoms that literally every single person can have, but there are like, am I using these terms correctly? Clinical or subclinical? Subclinical might just mean subdivisions. I think subclinical means it's a symptom that manifests, but it hasn't reached a clinically significant place that you would consider it like as a symptom, like diagnostically relevant, I think. Am I making that up? Where are my doctors at? The second issue is that everybody can have some symptoms, but it's up for somebody to do an evaluation to decide if these symptoms are clinically significant. Yeah, because they're subclinical mental disorders. Fuck, I don't know if I'm using this term correctly. I'm not sure. Clinically significant refers to the... Oh, I'm using AI. Fuck me. Hold on. Clinical significance is the practical importance of an effect, whether it has a real, genuine, palpable, noticeable effect on daily life. It is not the same as statistical significance. For instance, showing that a drug... Okay, that's true. Okay, yeah. So, okay, I think I'm using it correctly. The reason why I bring that up is because... it's possible that you have symptoms that haven't reached a clinically significant level that you would use this diagnostically, because a lot of people exhibit a lot of symptoms for a lot of things. Traditionally, I believe, so stepping into something that I know a little bit more about when it comes to Alzheimer's disease, one of the difficulties about catching Alzheimer's disease early, I'm saying catching it, well, yeah, catching it early is that a lot of the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease are also very common with the symptoms of ordinary aging. People becoming a little bit more forgetful, having motor control issues, people getting a little bit irritable. A lot of these things have overlaps with a ton of other diseases and just ordinary aging. So you can say that like, oh, he's got this symptom, this is, okay, yeah, right. All this to say, backing up, somebody can have 5 symptoms that are all associated with Parkinson's, but you don't have the patient history. You don't know what medication they're currently on. You don't know what symptoms or diseases they might currently have. So you don't know which of these are being caused by what you think it is versus something else. And number 2, it's hard to assess, I think, at a distance how significant these symptoms are, right? These are things that I would say probably make it, I would say, if I wasn't on stream cucking myself and trying to qualify everything like crazy, I would say it probably makes it highly unethical to engage in this sort of meandering thought on TV without doing a crazy amount of qualifying, right? Yeah. Oh, also, and I've said this before too, if you guys really want to know, for instance, if you're trying to check your health on blood tests and stuff, the only way to really know that is, 1 is if you're manifesting symptoms, and 2 is if you do blood tests over a series of time. You've got to do them over and over and over again to establish a baseline, and then you'll know if like certain levels are high or low, or if you've got a deficiency or whatever else, because the reference ranges on the acceptable levels of vitamins, hormones, or whatever in your body can be quite large. And you might have low or high of a particular vitamin or a particular hormone. You might have low or high, but you're still within the reference range, so you would never know from a single test, right? How this would be applicable here is, let's say that we could go back and look at Biden 5 years ago, and we were his doctor, and we went and we gave him a test. And let's say that Biden can do like 1-arm push-ups, okay? And he was like a fucking yoga master. And then we looked at him today. We're like, oh shit, you have a significant, like there is a significant decrease in mobility, and stiffness has increased massively. Something is happening here, right? But let's say that you've been his doctor for 20 years, and let's say that when he was 60, he always kind of like moves like this, right? And now let's say he's like a little bit worse today. You go like, this probably isn't, it's probably not as relevant, right? This is the importance of like patient history and like having a chart to refer back to things that have happened before. Your bodies are always like works in progress. Your history is important. You change over time. Your medical stuff can be best effectively compared to yourself. There are still like acceptable reference ranges. Like if you're falling way out of the norm for a lot of things, like it's bad. Like just, it will be always, but just, these are all just like things to keep in mind. You're correct for almost everything. For Parkinson's, there's like a classical presentation that they teach you to ID on board exams. However, I don't know any good doctor that would ever go live to diagnose a patient they have no access to. Yeah, sure. And I'm sure also even for classical presentation of Parkinson's, I'm sure that you also probably ask a lot of other questions. My guess would be, again, not a physician at all, but my guess would be the very first question any physician would probably ask you in the hospital is, have you noticed any significant changes in how you feel about these things? That'd be my guess. Or has anybody around you noticed? That'd be my guess is the very first question. And the reason why is if it's not a long-term doctor, it's probably because they're trying to establish a baseline, right? They're going to say, oh, okay, yeah, tell me. And that, your answer there will inform probably a lot of the rest of the process. If you say something like, no, actually, ever since I was like 16, I fell off my bike, I've always had knee issues, I always kind of like move like this. And the doctor would keep that in mind, as he moves through, the diagnostic process. Or yeah, if you say something like, yeah, up until like, I'd say like 3 or 4 years ago, I did, Pilates, is that what they call it? I went down to the park and I ran a lot and I kind of had to stop running and now I feel like I'm just really tight and stiff everywhere. And the doctor would keep that in mind. He's like, oh, okay, so something significantly has changed, right? Yeah. Ugh. What do you think the Parkinson's expert was doing visiting the White House 8 times? Who, him? I think he was just there. He wasn't Biden's doctor. What do you mean?
Parkinsonism, and that becomes a little nebulous. But once you start manifesting the hallmark motor symptoms, right? Slow movement, rigidity, mass facies, hypophonia. I mean, if a med student did not pick...
Like when you talk about these are everything he just described, and this is why the clinically significant part. Everything he just described is arguably part of aging as well, right? Like
hallmark motor symptoms, right? Slow movement.
Slow movement is something everybody that gets older slows down.
Rigidity.
Everybody that gets older gets a bit more rigid.
Mass facies.
Mass facies, is he talking about like kind of like blunt affect or face getting stuck? That might be a little bit more unique, but even so, my guess is going to be older people are probably generally less expressive than they were younger, especially when we start hitting the 80s.
Hypophonia. I mean,
I don't know what hypophonia is. Hypophonia. I don't know what the phonia means. Soft, breathy, and abnormally weak speech. That's probably not as normal, my guess.
A med student did not pick Parkinson's on the test. They'd be remediated.
So let me ask you, if you had, and I know you have no idea what happened in the White House, but a neurologist coming 8 times in 8 months, does that tell you anything? Is that, I mean, I know you're just.
Oh, the other neurologist. Okay.
Sort of speculating here, but does that tell you anything or no?
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're like the best of friends or something, but that's a very specific, he's a movement disorder. That's a subspecialist in exactly what he has. And there's very few young people, like a Marine Guard. Most people would be med boarded out for any type of movement disorder at a young age. Like if you had Huntington's chorea, early onset Parkinson's, dystonia, bad essential tremor, you're usually med boarded out. So I highly doubt there's...
What does that mean, med boarded out?
I mean, the military would not let you, if you have seizures, for example, you cannot usually be in the military. That is, you are
So you're saying you don't necessarily believe, and they're not saying this, but they said there's thousands of military members that go to the White House treated.
Why are you comfortable diagnosing people with BPD or narcissism? I don't know if narcissism is a formal diagnosis. I'm not a medical professional, so it's not. I don't really. It's my word is just like as a layman, like here I am. If I was like board certified, or if I was like a physician, I don't know if I would be comfortable making those same assessments publicly. I think that would be grossly irresponsible, probably.
There for health reasons, you're not buying that that's a random military person.
No, that would be very odd to just see a random movement disorder case at the White House.
But also, I'm never wrong, so. Sorry, device, I'm unbanning you. The problem is that Dems are already ready for Biden to lose. Oh wait, that wasn't what I was looking for. Wouldn't Biden have gotten Parkinson's years ago? It can probably develop at different ages. From an MD, you're correct. Don't cuck yourself. Diagnosing someone or even alluding to a diagnosis without their history is unethical, especially on TV. You can look up subclinical hypothyroidism as an example as well. Okay.
Not let you, if you have seizures, for example, you cannot usually be in the military. That is, you are.
So you're saying you don't necessarily believe, and they're not saying this, but they said there's thousands of military members that go to the White House treated there for health reasons. You're not buying that that's a random military person.
No, that would be very odd to just see a random movement disorder case at the White House. Especially a young guard. There aren't many young people that have movement disorders that could be in the military.
And then, a lot of people have called for a cognitive test. What exactly would that entail? What does that mean?
Now, that's the key, because word finding retrieval doesn't necessarily mean you don't know what you want to say. What I cannot comment on is his ability to make good decisions.
Sorry, hold on. I need to keep... I can't comment on this, but I can... Okay.
Right.
And then, a lot of people have called for a cognitive test. What exactly would that entail? What does that mean?
Now, that's the key, because word finding retrieval doesn't necessarily mean you don't know what you want to say. What I cannot comment on is his ability to make good decisions. His motor symptoms are degenerating. He has Parkinsonism. That is a fact. He has degeneration of the brain. Show me the MRI. Show me he doesn't. Put your money where your mouth is. He definitely has it. But the problem is, when you look at his situation, you can't say, oh, I know for a fact that because he didn't retrieve the word, he...
Oh my God, I just got the fucking most Kino idea in the world. God, I just got the most Kino fucking idea in the world. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. Joe Biden goes into a hospital. 2 neurologists examine him. One appointed by the Republicans, one appointed by the Dems. Okay? And then he gets a full brain scan, MRI, everything else. All of his medical records. And Biden says, I'm ready to post all of this publicly, and I give my permission to do it right after Donald Trump posts his tax returns. Boom. Donald posts his tax returns. Biden can post his shit. Maybe he has dementia. He's like, I do have Parkinson's. I'm dropping out. Here's Kamala. Good luck. Boom. Absolute Kino moment.
Didn't know what he wanted to say. And that's why both him and Trump should take the 4-hour neuropsychological testing, which is the hallmark test for cognitive performance.
What do you do in this test?
A lot of things. So, for example, they may have you say as many words as you can in a minute that start with F. Block building, retrieval. I may say cup and have you recall it 3 minutes later. Trail drawing. These are done with a professional PhD in neuropsychology. It has nothing to do with psychiatry. And we can tell if you have that.
It's 4 hours long?
4 hours. It's a full day. We tell people bring a snack. It is a full day. And that...
Do you agree with the labeling of different mental conditions as specific things like depression, ADHD, autism, etc.? Sure.
So not the MOCA, which was a bedside test that President Trump took. These are tests that are screening tests. They don't rule in. If you do great,
there's no way to sort of lie in this test to sort of ace it, even though you're saying
no way. This one will come out in the wash. For example, if I do the bedside exam to an accountant and I ask them what's 100 minus 7, even the worst neurodegenerative patient, if they worked at a high education level or something like that, is going to get that right. But in the 4-hour test, it will come out.
Finally, you said you're a Democrat, you're a doctor. You sound like you're frustrated with what the White House is saying.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because I'm an American before everything, and I look at it and say, when I used to see Russia, Soviet Union, North Korea, when they just make outrageous things, like when North Korea can't keep the lights on and they say, oh, it was some faulty power thing. I kind of hate that kind of stuff. They had 4 years. My own party had 4 years to find, this was a wreck in slow motion. And they had 4 years to find out of 350 Americans, one person that could take the place. And here we are the day before school trying to do the homework and replace a guy who's got a neurodegenerative disease.
Dr. Pitts, we thank you for joining Top Story. And again, I know you've never examined President Biden. I want to say you've never spoken to President Biden, but you're going off what you've seen on television interviews and all of your expertise. Yeah. Doctor, we appreciate that.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Nobody's saying it now, but thank God Biden isn't black. Because if he was, they'd be calling him the DEI president. But since he's white, hallelujah, white Jesus, white God. Feels so good to never have to be on trial for my own race or gender. I love that. I love it when I fuck up, I'm not bringing down all the other white people with me. Thank God. Whew. Where's the Goldwater rule now? I believe the Goldwater rule only applied to psychologists or psychiatrists or people who worked in mental health. I don't think it was for all. I don't even know if it applied to physicians. The American Psychiatric Association adopted the Goldwater Rule in 1973, prohibiting members. Okay, so members of the American Psychiatric Association. It must apply to psychologists as well, though, right? Probably.
Story, and again, I know you've never examined.
The AMA had a similar rule, which applies to physicians. Wait, does it? AMA Goldwater Rule. These cognitive tests are done by neuropsychologists. I'm sure, my guess is the cognitive test can probably be administered by a ton of different disciplines. Like my guess would be a physician could administer it, or like a neurologist or a neuro, whatever. That'd be my guess. But I could be wrong. Like I'm pretty sure like an ophthalmologist could probably do like an eye exam, right? But I mean, you wouldn't want to pay him for it now. Psychiatrists are physicians. Yeah, but psychologists are not, generally.
The thrill of the kill of going to Planned Parenthood. That's what a woman. Some of these women on the left, they get a bloodlust in them, Taylor. Okay,
it's the only person here who's actually raised children. I think I'm the one who's qualified to say abortion should be legal up through their teenage years. Sorry.
Boo. I don't.
No, that's already the Democrat's decision. Didn't you know that? We already believe that.
It is.
No,
it is.
I don't
That's what they're fighting for out there. Get out and vote. You know.
Yeah, I think like half of abortions are the pill. You know, like I think that I just think that if you need some limits on it, and I felt when Biden wouldn't speak out, say anything, the question was like, do you support late term abortion? And God, you got to find a way to say no to that and then appease your group, Joe. Instead, he's like, I support Roe v. Wade. In the first trimester, it was from a woman and her doctor. In the second and more serious case, the woman and another doctor and her family. And like he trails off and gets fucking lost. It's like Trump was like, this guy wants to kill babies. Baby's crawling in the crib. He wants to snatch him up.
Crawling in the crib and he wants to grab him. Joe Biden, baby grabber.
Smell him.
The whole thing is stupid. 99% of abortions take place before the first 16 months. It's less than 1%.
Oh, did he just have a Biden moment? Uh-oh. The liberal lets the mask slip, and he wants to abort 16-month-old fetuses? Good job. What is that, a 7-month-old baby? Good job, Hutch. Disgusting.
Nuts.
Yes.
See, I told you, folks.
Hutch is on my side now with 4-month-old babies.
Without getting into semantics, there are disciplines in psychology who are physicians. I know it's annoying. Yeah, that's why I said generally psychologists don't have. People will say psychologists don't have MDs, physicians do have MDs, but there are certain types of psychologists that will go to med school. But I don't remember them exactly. But I'm just saying, as a general rule, they don't. But it's us.
Doing that, dude. I do that all the time. Yeah, it's not a fucking giraffe, but no, it's like 99% occur, I think, in the first 16 weeks, and it's less than 1% occur that in the third trimester. If a woman has carried a fetus to term to the 9th month, it's quite obviously that the case that if they're getting an abortion, there's something going on. The fetus is not viable, poses a threat to the mother, and it's a fucking horrific situation that we have a situation now where in like 24 states, women are literally waiting in the parking lot of hospitals until they go into sepsis because the laws are written like every single abortion ban has exceptions for the life of the mother, I believe, but they're written so vaguely that none of these doctors want to take the risk of saying, well, this is a direct threat.
Is that true? I don't know if a lot of the new abortion bans have life of the mother written in. Do they?
To the mother's life. They have to wait until there's actually a threat that manifests. And this is just something that's wildly...
That'll be the next thing on Twitch, by the way.
If you show up in an emergency room and your life is at risk, they have to serve you, right?
Right.
That's what they're waiting on.
They have to wait until it's an immediate risk. They have to wait. So the threat of sepsis...
Did you see Oompaville's video on you today? I don't even know what Oompaville is now.
This is not enough. They have to wait until
Twitch stream, right?
The threat of them parking should be enough.
The threat of a pregnant woman pulling into a parking lot.
Did you know that the average woman is too fat now for Plan B to be effective? Did you guys know that?
That is something that
You either have to take multiple Plan Bs or Plan B just doesn't work. But the weight for that is much lower than you think. I want to say that Plan B, I think if you're like over, if you're over 150, it's not effective or it's not guaranteed to be effective. Plan B weight, it's lower than you think, I think. And before I'm making all this up. This says, one study found that women who weighed more than 176 took Plan B and had the same pregnancy rates as those who didn't use any emergency contraception at all. That's at 176. It just doesn't work. This says if you weigh more than 165, it doesn't. Okay, it's a little higher, but... Planned Parenthood recommends that people above 155 don't use Plan B. This is saying 155 for Healthline. Okay.
I learned from Dick. I learned from you on. See, this is where Dick and Woody are the most
important.
You know how many fat girls get the raw dogs to just know that off the cuff, Dick? Jesus Christ.
The only person I know who hates fat people as much as Woody is Dick.
Yeah.
He hates fat. Like someone will be like, "There's murders happening. Gun violence is out of control." And Dick's quote tweet will be like, "The average woman's weight is 181 pounds. I don't give a fuck about anything until this is solved."
Stupid.
Holy shit, is that true?
It's something like that, and I know that.
180, bro.
180. I want to say average U.S. woman's weight. I'm gonna guess it can't be 180. It's no shot. I'm gonna guess 155. Average U.S. woman weight. God damn. 170. Keep in mind that the average height for a woman is 5'4", I think. Oh, average U.S. woman height. Ooh. 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 Now I guess for men? For men, fuck. Average height for a man is what, 6 inches taller? 5'10" or 5'9"? And I think it might be 5'9". I'm going to say, well, now I'm going to guess like what, 210, 220? Average U.S. male weight, 200. God damn. and a waist circumference of 40.5 inches. Damn. I think my waist is 30. Jesus. Oh, here's a question, actually. One of the most annoying things about, I think I've said, is buying clothes is like when you change weight, shit fits or doesn't fit anymore. It's very annoying. Let's say that you have a waist of 30 inches. What size pants do you buy? Do you leave yourself wiggle room? Like, will you buy pants that are like a 32, 33? Or do you always try to buy for basically your exact waist size? It will stretch usually. Bullshit. You never, no. Not if they're real pants with like buttons and shit. No, you don't want shit that's going to choke the fuck out of you. Fuck that. But I feel like if you buy them too big and you've got to like it feels cringe when you're using a belt to like bunch your pants together and shit. Fuck that. Where do you measure your waist? I don't fucking know. I just know what size pants I can wear.
Oh yeah, we gotta trim some of the fat around here.
Trim the, what do you mean by trim the fat?
I want you to fire the fat people.
What?
They're lazy and they're slow and they make me sad to look at. You can start with large Marge. Marge, can you come in here, please?
No, Margie's not fat, she's pregnant. I'm not gonna fire her.
Well, fine.
Stay where you are, Marge. Congratulations.
You can fire Professor Xavier.
Who are you talking about? You mean Hank?
Yeah, creeps me out. Rolling around all day in a special little secret chair.
Your waist size is circumference around your belly button. Pants usually have to fit under your hips. Wait, is that true? Fuck that. Wait, also, yeah, wait, where do you guys wear your pants? It's like right below the belly button, right? On my legs? Show us? Like an inch below. Is that about an inch? I think. Below the belly button is for retards or old people. How low do you wear dress pants? Dress trousers should sit at least slightly above your waist and higher if they are high-waisted. Oh, no pictures. Oh, there we go. Why would you cover it? And you're covering it with 2 different outfits. Or 2 different, articles of clothing. Damn. Damn. Okay, I don't care. Fuck this.
Like no, it's like 174.6 or something like that.
Man, that's a big gal. Yeah. I bet a lot of them.
That's what you want around Trump. You want Lizzo's and her big girls as the Secret Service around Trump, not that little Tinkerbell that they have.
Zach, throw up Shane Gillis' sister. I get a laugh every time I see that shit. You know, I saw some more video today of Trump arriving to the local hospital or whatever to get checked out, and Shane Gillis' sister is outside the car again, and she still can't get her pistol in her holster. She's there she is.
Yeah, I mean, Lizzo right there. Lizzo and all her big girls. Oh, you know?
Dude, is this the A-team we've got?
Why is this?
To get checked out, and Shane Gillis' sister is outside the car again, and she still can't get her pistol in her holster. She's there she is.
Yeah, I mean,
like, it's so stupid. Like, people post a picture like, women, Secret Service. Like, different people are probably stationed in different areas, right? Like, again, it's funny because people will make fun of this woman because I think she was like behind Trump, like a few feet. She wasn't on stage, but like, DI. It's like, okay, well, what about the man who was on the roof and stared at the sniper like for 20 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever that shot at Trump? What about that guy? Is that because men are incompetent, or?
Lizzo right there. Lizzo and all her big girls. Oh, you know?
Dude, is this the A-team we've got here, Kimberly?
I want to reply to that, Kyle. I have a bit of a leftist position on this. So I think we'll find common ground that fucking fatty over there shouldn't be doing that job. So like, let's take that and agree. But I do think those two women in particular have been singled out as if they're the cause of the security breach. And I found myself, I didn't hard scope any of the boys to see if they did a good job, but I did hard scope both of the women to see if they belonged there. And I judged one maybe and the other no. That was
Zach, I'm sending you the picture of the lady not doing her job.
Okay.
You're talking about the one that couldn't put the gun in the holster?
I know there's an edited version of that video. I haven't seen the unedited. Like I don't know.
We throw that one up.
I think it's pretty clear that she was having trouble getting it back in the holster.
Yeah, the reason people are pointing out that stuff is because of the head of the Secret Service's previous comments about DEI and trying to get the number of...
What is this video of them not being able to put it in the holster? Does anybody have that video? Woke Destiny missing the point entirely. No woman should be doing the job in the first place, especially not short and fat. If somebody is fat or whatever, I can understand them maybe not doing the job. It would depend on what part of the job you're doing. But like if somebody qualifies and can do the job, then you do the job. Why does it matter if it's a woman or not?
Female agents in the agency up to 30% from 24%. And that was a big part of her. I mean, it's a quote. And so then you look and you see a gunman climbing onto a building. There's video of him an hour there before scoping the place out in the background. There's 2 minutes of people going, there's a guy right there. They're on camera. They're filming the sniper. They're like, he's there, he's got a gun. Then they send fucking Andy Griffith up a ladder. Dude points a gun at him and Andy falls off the ladder and hurts himself. During the time Trump was being shot, yes. During the time Trump is being shot, fucking Barney Fife is laying on the ground with his ankle sprained, having a boo-boo. You know that building that he shot off? You know what was inside of it? Anyone guess?
Secret Service guy.
A team of Secret Service snipers were inside the building. They asked Kimberly, hey, why wasn't the team like on the building or maybe like pointing out the windows or something? She's like, that roof is so slanted, you know? Look at the roof behind Trump. It's a peak. It's like a barn peak. And the guy's up there like a badass. Like those two look like they knew what they were doing. That rifle that guy's got.
Right now?
Secret Service agent struggles to holster weapon after Trump shot. Which, is it this woman here? Or is it this woman here? Oh no, it's this woman here. Oh. What? You just missed it? Was it this here? No fucking shot. Go further back? Okay, her I'm watching. Oh, she's trying. Oh, she missed. Oh. Oh, do you see what happened? She hesitated to put it away because there's... No. I don't know what she has there. There's no way it's a magazine because I don't think you traditionally wear a magazine on the same side as your holster. She has something else clipped to her belt. I don't know what it is, but she tries to holster it into whatever's clipped in the belt. Somebody just said it's a badge. Oh, maybe, but that's what's happening. Watch. She's trying to holster it right here into this badge. That's what she's catching. If this is a badge, whatever this is here. Watch her. See? That's why it slides a few times, because it's not, you can't, it's a badge. Yeah. I mean, she's nervous. Yeah, probably, yeah.
Are you sure that the building
everything
has Secret Service in it?
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, I think that's
inside,
confirmed.
And the only like, it's either in the building the guy was on top of, or you can tell they're connected with a very short walkway of maybe 8 feet to another identical building. They may have been in that building. It's one or the other. That's the like 100%.
Do you really think she's overweight? That vest adds a ton of mass. She looks like she is. That'd be my guess. My guess is she is, but I don't know how thick the vests they wear are. When I look at her, especially because of the shape that women usually have, I would imagine that she is overweight. However, the vest doesn't just add mass, it also eliminates your shape a little bit, because underneath it's going to present like a flat thing, which is like a fatty kind of. So the vest is going to eliminate a bit of shape, and she's also wearing a jacket as well, so we can't tell how wide she is. She looks like she's overweight, but she might not be. It's possible she's not. It's just hard to tell because of the, but I don't know, who the fuck knows. Compared to the other agent, I can't tell with the other agent either. You're talking about this lady here? She could be. She could not be. Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell. Do you not think she goes through training for this stuff? For holstering a weapon. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you for Secret Service. I'm sure I am 1,000,000,000% sure, without having any experience, I'm sure they absolutely practice drawing and firing. They must. They must practice drawing and shooting. But typically, like when you're holstering a gun, you're outside of like super spooky situations, and it's not as big of a at that point. You're putting your weapon away. But to be able to pull and fire, they must have exercise. I would be surprised if cops didn't have exercise. Even ordinary police officers must have exercises for that. But I don't know if they like practice holstering their gun again. You don't typically. There's no virtue. You don't need to be able to like put your gun away really quickly. What do you think is her 2-mile time, and how does it compare to the males? My guess is going to be that on average, the woman 2-mile time is probably going to be lower, but there's qualifications to do a job. You don't have to be the best or the fastest to do that job. If you have the qualifications to do the job, then you can get hired to do the job.
The matter. I want to lay out the point I was getting to, which is everyone, including me, hard scoped these girls to see if they were doing a good job. But I think the actual place that went wrong was someone above them, like someone who decided that roof didn't need to be taken care of.
That's Iranian death threat upgraded service protection.
So the person
you said lower. Oh, I meant lower as in worse. My guess is her time would be worse. She'd score lower. She would probably higher. I mean.
Very top of this person at the very top of the Secret Service. I'm willing to look at her, right? That seems like something went wrong there. She didn't put the right people on the case. And I don't know who was in charge of that day, but we should be looking at that guy or girl.
Wait, wasn't it also the case that the local PD fucked up as well?
Yeah, no. 100%. Yeah. But my argument to that would be like still going after Kimberly and the Secret Service, and then they've been so incompetent here that it makes it appear.
It kind of stands to reason that if you practice drawing from a holster, you also practice to holster derp. No, it doesn't. And I understand why you might be saying that, because you're probably a conservative with a really strong feeling about guns or training with firearms, but you've never actually held one or shot one or drawn from a holster in your entire life. But no, they're completely and totally different things. You should try like actually touching a firearm for once in your life. And if you happen to wander into a fucking range, bring a holster with you, put it under your belt, and practice drawing and shooting. Shooting from a holster is actually a much different experience than setting a gun in front of you and then picking it up and then loading it and firing down range. It's a different experience. Drawing from the holster is one thing, and reholstering a gun is a different thing. Reholstering is always more difficult than drawing. Drawing is very easy. Your hand is on the gun. Searching for it is very easy. You reach down and the gun is there. Okay, you might have a trigger on the holster. You might have to pull it directly there, but you know how to draw. You should if you practice it. But once you've drawn and fired, reholstering it can be annoying for a whole host of reasons. You might have to use for instance, if you have a coat, it's very easy to draw with one hand, right? You can literally reach in and do it. But to reholster, you've got to use a second hand sometimes to move it out of the way, or you might have to like scoot it. And then when you go back in, like now your holster, which is easier to feel because it's heavier because you've got a gun in it, and it might be oriented a certain way. Now you've got to like search for it with like the front of your gun, you put it in and blah, 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 right? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that just because you've practiced shooting from a holster and firing effectively doesn't mean that you can reholster very quickly. I don't know anybody that practices that. The Secret Service might though, or maybe police officers do. I've never heard that before. It's possible they do. I'm just saying that just because you can draw from a holster and fire effectively doesn't mean that you can reholster incredibly quickly. That doesn't follow. Retard.
To conspiracy theorists that it's set up, and I don't believe in most conspiracy theories because you need too many smart people to keep a lie, and that's so hard to do. It just doesn't work most of the time.
Did you see what came out? They eventually cracked the kid's phone, and they discovered that he was looking up. FBI Director Wray came out and said he was looking up images of both Biden and Trump. He was looking up event dates for both candidates, and he was also Googling major depressive order, which is like this is usually the case. So people immediately want to assume that there's some like ideological motive to these things, but when you
I think there's zero.
The Reagan assassination thing, he was trying to impress like Jodie Foster, and it appears that this kid might have been motivated by just a sense of like
fame.
Go out.
If you were the president, wouldn't you fire her after seeing this? No. What my number one thing would be whoever was responsible for operations management or whatever, whoever's like in charge of the planning or whatever would be the number one thing that I would go to. And I would ask them, what were the breakdowns here? Why was a person on this roof? Number one, right? It's not supposed to be part of the perimeter. And then 2, if it's not part of the perimeter, why aren't we looking at it? And then 3, if we were looking at it, well, why wasn't something done about it? That would be my questions. It wouldn't be, did somebody holster a gun fast enough outside of a fucking van?
Oh, banging, yeah.
Did you see his message on Steam or whatever? He was like, tomorrow's my debut or some shit like that.
Was it confirmed?
He was like,
I heard that was not true.
So, I don't know. Every time you draw, you also have to holster. Drawing is 1, easier than holstering, and 2, practicing a quick draw to fire effectively doesn't mean that you're practicing a quick holster, right? You can go watch people that practice shooting at holsters, right? Especially if you're shooting and trading shooting, right? You might like literally practice. You might do like a timer where you're like, right, and then you shoot. But then when you're done and you're not being timed anymore, like you're done shooting, you're like, okay, whatever, right? I'm qualifying again because maybe police officers or Secret Service people do practice this, but I've never seen somebody do like, okay, reholster. I've never seen that in my life. I've never seen those drills. Maybe there are those drills, though, and I'm just not aware of them. But from the sounds of it, you've never even touched a gun before. If you're saying that you should be able to reholster because you practice drawing from the holster, you just have never practiced with a holster before, which is fine. Most even shooters probably haven't, but it's just a stupid fucking...
Oh, I don't know if
it's reported widely. I think I'm 100% on this. Super widely. So go back to that picture. That's important stuff. So
what was that?
Exactly. So in the bottom left, that remote control, that's they're saying was a detonator that he was going to use to set off the explosives that supposedly were in his car.
Oh.
It's not like I don't recognize that as a detonator, but that's what it's being used as. It's from some other electronic. It's actually in a Nest.
Is that an iPhone?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
It's a phone. It's his phone.
Maybe a Samsung. It's either Samsung or iPhone.
Oh,
can you imagine being the guy to pull that battery out of that thing? Just think, that would be so scary.
Being like, oh shit,
that
I
is
don't
what sucks about the whole thing. Because if it really was incompetence, did they fuel just the worst conspiracy theories with that? Which is
I don't think it's a setup unless you think the setup was them saying,
here, Kyle, the gaming thing wasn't true.
Send the B team. Send the B team to Trump. And actually send half the B team. I think that could have been done. I don't think you're going to get a Secret Service agent to do anything other than their fucking job, though.
Reholstering is part of firearms qualifications for law enforcement. Stress effects, fine motor skills. Okay. Yeah, it might be. I could imagine police officers and Secret Service, probably for both. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure. I could imagine that reholstering would be part of training because after you've deployed a firearm, you want to be able to reholster it and then perform whatever duty is next, essentially. That I would imagine that. I'm not sure.
Man, woman,
I saw
or child.
people saying that
maybe not
I saw some people trying to latch on to like Iran doing it, and like maybe I just have too much faith in Iran as a country, but there is no fucking way Iran sends this retard to shoot a political.
2 minutes?
Like there's no way. There's no way.
2 minutes.
It just doesn't make sense.
That seems to be breaking news that now that's not his Steam account. Thank you, Woody.
Oh wow. Yeah, Zach, I've seen a lot of people call him Retardy Oswald, and I've liked that.
I got a picture of his headshot, but I don't think we should show that. I sent it to you guys on WhatsApp.
You did.
Do they practice in full garb with the badge on? If they practice, if the Secret Service runs those drills, they absolutely run those drills in full uniform. If you're doing a drill and the drill doesn't mirror real life conditions as much as possible, then you're wasting your fucking time. Go to McDonald's, buy a milkshake, and do that instead. Every drill that you do for a particular thing should try to map on to real life circumstances as much as possible. Otherwise, the whole point of a drill is that when you're in a high stress situation, the thing that you always will go back to is what you trained. And if you've practiced drawing and shooting over and over again in like a t-shirt, then that training isn't going to help you that much if you've got a jacket on. And if your uniform involves wearing a jacket, why would you not train in that uniform? So if they do train that, they absolutely train in the uniforms. I would be shocked if that wasn't the case.
And I couldn't tell if that was...
You didn't like that? 100%.
That was a real picture? Yeah, I don't like PW.
There was some really wild stuff that came out where it was revealed that Trump had a... and I'm sure all candidates have databases or whatever. The Trump campaign had a database of voters where they had profiled voters in like various states, and his dad had a profile, and they had like a numerical scoring system, and this dad apparently scored like 99.5% on this like Republican-o-meter. They give him strong marks for being a hunter, a gun advocate, and a Republican voter.
If this guy's a loser teenager, his dad being a hardcore Trump guy makes it seem like he'd like Trump less, doesn't it?
Yeah, he hates his dad, so he's taking it out on the whole country.
There's just no indication that this was politically motivated. There's just
I don't think there is.
Killed a Republican president.
Yeah, but he means
pretty good indicator.
My take on this,
he did try to kill a
he did do
Republican
that.
presidential nominee.
They had his
killed Trump. You know,
He did try to kill
lots of people hate pedophiles. It might have been that. It might have been his private life. It might have been his. Might have been the
You guys don't think it's politically motivated again, huh? The guys who hate Trump? Whoa!
Maybe
Shocker!
People who go into the backstage of the Miss Teen USA contest and brag about it on how.
You guys just tried to kill the Republican president. It might not be politically motivated.
There's a lot of things to dislike about Trump. We don't know.
The guy who tried to,
I'm not a retard.
The guy who tried to kill Reagan did it because he was literally trying to impress Jodie Foster.
Do you think the SS snipers who saw him also thought the shooter was one of their own snipers? If they knew that SS was in that building, it's safe to assume he was one of your own. That's not true at all. But I don't know what